We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the brand new Fixx Wrestling Podcast. My name is Jim. I am your host. Before we start out, if you would do me a favor, take you only a moment to like, share, and comment and subscribe to this to the channel. We are when it comes to wrestling. We have interviews, and we got a special one today. We're going to be doing a mix of a show today. We're actually going to be talking about the belt hobby with an expert, and we're going to be talking about his man cave as well. Now, I'm going to bring on my co-host with the most, Mr. Andy O. Welcome, Andy.
How we doing, guys? Welcome back to the new start of the Fixx Wrestling Podcast. It's going to be a fun one. We got a lot of nice things in store. Like Jim said, we're going to talk about the belt hobby today, and we also have a special guest that's been in the hobby for quite some time, as well as he's going to show us a little bit around his man cave. So, without further ado, got anything to add, Jim?
Well, just to let everybody know, this is my original podcast partner when we first started out doing podcasts together. The Canadian Destroyer, the Nova Scotian Nightmare, Mr. Tony Thorpe. Tony, brother, welcome. It's been a while since we've been on. Okay, as I was saying,
I apologize for the cutting out there. We had a little bit of a lag moment there.
Tony is actually my first co-host when we first started doing podcasts together, and he's near dear to my heart. Every morning I tell him to have a great day, and don't forget his nap. Tony, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, buddy, and I had my nap today. Yeah, no, Jim, you're great. Glad we've become friends all these years. Andy, I just actually sent you a friend request before the show just started. Check your phone. Yeah, no, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Hey, this is long overdue, brother. Long overdue. Before we get into the meat and potatoes, how long have you been collecting belts, man?
It's either going to be 5. I think it's either 4 or 5. Definitely 4 years. It might be 5 years. No, it's 4 years. 4 years. And
is there particular federations that you collect, or do you just,
So my first belt was a winged eagle that my wife bought me for Father's Day off Amazon. And it was the first adult replica belt that I own. I still have it. It's paper thin. It's brass, but I've replaced it since. And then I just started collecting. Second one I got was a big gold off eBay, I think. And then I got this brass, this one off Amazon. 10 pounds of gold. It's brass. And before I knew about the difference between brass and zinc and how the etching looks and the zinc belt. So, but it's been fun for sure. 4 years of driving my wife crazy with all these damn belts I
have. Well, Andy, do you got any questions for Tony?
I'm trying to think. I'm having a brain fart. All right, so let's start off. We're doing questions, Q&As. Out of everything you have in your collection currently, what is the favorite belt that you own out of your own collection?
I have a Fandu Lux big gold brown leather that I got from Scott Williamson from he's an admin in Belts of the North, the Canadian page.
Okay.
I bought that off him, and that's one of my absolute favorites. I think I have two sentimental. I have a lot of favorites actually, but there's two that do mean a lot to me. They're two that my mom bought me before she passed. And it's funny because the first one, it was like anything. The second one, I got the shop Big Gold. It's really flat, the WCW one. And she like made fun of me, like, "What are you, a big kid?" Like, like kind of razzing me, making fun of me for wanting wrestling belts when I'm in my 40s, right? So, and then she.
I used to do it as a kid. I used to make them cardboard, anything I could get my hands on.
Yeah, I remember I remember buying gold spray paint to make a Big Gold because I grew up in Canada on the West Coast, and I said this all the time. I was a WWF guy. I watched All Star Wrestling, Stampede Wrestling. We got some AWA wrestling, and we would get the odd NWA show once a month on TV. But when I saw Hogan in WCW with the Big Gold, I was like, I have to make this belt. Like it was it's just beautiful. So.
Now, how dare somebody call you a big kid when you have wrestling figures behind you? And I can't lie, I've got wrestling figures here. So
yeah, well, my mom, I have two brothers, and we're all three boys married, girls from the East Coast. We're all from the West Coast, but I'm the biggest kid. Like I'm the oldest of the three brothers, but I have this nerd room that I'm sitting in. In fact, my whole basement's kind of a nerd cave area. My wife, whatever, doesn't mind that I have my belts here and, other collectible stuff here and there. But my mom's seen this all, and she just was like, yeah, dude, like I'm just a big child. I think, honestly, life's too short to who's to define what, we come from a different generation, right? Like we grew up, now a lot of these toys are collectible, and who are these people that say, being a big kid's a bad thing? I don't think it's a bad thing. I have my priorities checked.
Well, now also, go right ahead, Andy.
You're good. No, I was just gonna say, like, you like collectibles and stuff like that, and that, like for me was a big kid. Like I was in it before I was married, and then before I met my wife, I was kind of like always home, didn't go anywhere, kind of thing. Yeah. Like came home from school, talked to a few people. And the biggest thing for me was I got out of it because I got sick of people saying, well, why do you watch that? It's fake. Why do you watch that? It's stupid. Oh, why do you watch men being thrown around in tights? Like, it's entertainment. Like, for me, it was more like I liked watching people get put through tables and slammed through ladders. It wasn't, where Jim grew up, it was more of the technicality of it. Or now in my generation, it was using weapons and having high flyers. Yeah. Diving across the ring. You know what I mean? Just different generations.
I'm right between you guys, where I got to live the Hogan era of wrestling in the WWE. Like I remember him becoming champ, and all we watched was WWF as a kid. Like it was just they knew their target audience, and I was right in that demographic of being a kid and growing up with it. So I never even all those stars that left the WWF. I never watched WCW. I was loyal, and I didn't even realize they were all working in other promotions and stuff. Like even when I read the Pro Wrestling Illustrated, WWF was always number one, and everything else was secondary. And I know Jim's from the South. That's probably like blasphemy because they had some great territories down there, right?
Oh yeah. Well, you see, here's the funny generation. Okay. My generation came from the Brodies and the Abdullahs, who dealt with chairs and blood and stuff like that, and it transcended into your generation, Tony, and it also evolved into Andy's generation as well.
Yeah, for sure it did.
The territories, I miss who wouldn't miss the territories? I mean, come on now. You had
Yeah.
territories all across the states and into Canada as well.
Yeah. Yeah. The territories, like,
And
I love looking back on it, learning about it now. I didn't appreciate it at the time when the territories were still there, right? Um, that's cool. That's really cool. And like I got out of wrestling. Like I remember, like Andy was saying, people saying why you watch that for kids. There was a group of us that loved wrestling right from when we were young kids, right into like your formative years when you're in high school. And you're supposed to be out of playing sports and chasing girls, right? You kind of you were frowned upon to be a wrestling fan back then. It wasn't cool at all, right? Like not at all. But I think because we've grown up with it for so long, now it is a cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is really popular. I think right now there's like a true renaissance because indie wrestling's more popular than it's ever been. You look, there's technically territories now, Jim, with all these different promotions, and the wrestling's not bad. Like MLW is a lower tier promotion. It's entertaining. It's good. It's not terrible.
Hey, MLW is where MJF came from. A lot of the Karrion Kross was there for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not terrible. And the thing about it is, and a lot of people have asked me, over the years, can you tell me about the territories? I said, better yet, the best place to go look is YouTube.
100%.
Look up the territories. They have several different episodes of the territories. Continental, Memphis, of course. You've got some of the Pacific Northwest. There are some from California, and there are some Stampede as well.
Stampede, and you had All Star Wrestling out of Toronto, which was
an All Star.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the territories are great, and I read I actually have a book on the territories in this room. I just can't remember. I'm looking around for it. I don't know where it is.
Well, you were talking about your sentimental belts.
Yeah.
Now, this is a two-part question.
Sure.
Number one, how many belts do you have so far?
I haven't counted in a while. My wife told me she counted over 80. I think I have over 90. I have a couple brass belts that are like just in a storage bin in my garage because one's the first one I ever got. It's super sentimental, and another one's not bad at all. It's really nice on good leather, but I have a nicer version of it in zinc. It's the UWF type.
Yeah.
And I thought the brass one's just so nice. I could sell it, but it was probably one of the first 4 or 5 belts I bought. Right? It wasn't until I got Zeka, who sold me some zinc belts. He's from New York as well. Actually, he's from Jersey. Sorry, he works in New York. He sold me a couple of his belts, and I can't remember what group that was in, but that was about 4 years ago. Me and him have stayed friends ever since.
Oh, that's just a small collection that you have. I'm kidding, brother.
Well, yeah. I'm the director. I'm a director of sales for a company. I've had, I've had a couple different jobs over the past 4 years of collecting with COVID and moving from one company to another and what have you. But I do okay, and I like to spoil myself with the odd thing here and there. And I've sold a lot too.
I mean, a man needs to reap the benefits of his hard work.
Yeah. My wife's cool.
Well, as long as your wife's cool with it, that's all that matters.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Life after life. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're going to get into meat and potatoes of things. What's wrong with the hobby? What's wrong with the belt hobby? What are people facing right now if somebody is new getting into this hobby?
So I think that's 2 questions. What are they facing? Just if you're new in the hobby, don't be afraid to reach out to people in trusted groups. When you're new, you're gonna I don't know, you're gonna wade through a lot of shit. I think, but is the hobby dead or hurting or whatever you said? No, I think it's just there is stuff that's changed in the belt hobby, and I think part of it is I started collecting right before COVID started, right, and then
Right.
I was working. I was still working throughout COVID, and we couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't spend our money on anything, so I just started buying more belts. I think that happened to a lot of people, where they just started collecting. But now that everyone's going out and about again, I think that's one of the reasons you're seeing the decline of belt collecting. I think the market was saturated for 3 years of solid. Like lots of belt makers were popping up because they saw that people were making money, and you know, I think there are people that their collections have become complete or near complete, and like people like myself, I've slowed down, you know. And there's a lot of guys that were buying belts all the time that were in this hobby that I met 2, 3, 4 years ago that aren't collecting at all anymore, right? So I just think it's changed that way.
Now, who would be people that you would consider trusted in this hobby that would help? I'm saying who would basically, hold your hand through this hobby and hold your hand to help you. Trusted people. I know I would consider you one of the most trusted people in this hobby here, and if somebody reached out to you and said, Tony, I don't know, I want to get a NWA Western States title.
Yeah.
Who should I go through? Who's a trusted maker that I can rely upon, that I won't be screwed?
Well, I think there are, like, I've had a few people, and Andy messaged me and tried my maker out, and it didn't work out for him, unfortunately. One of the people I use, I got burned by a maker recently, maybe 6 months ago now, and so I cut back and I drew back, and I went back to the 3 makers that I've worked the most with to buy, just for my collection. And those are the guys that I'd stick with, but it's hard. Like, I think if you're getting new into it and you're new into the hobby, hopefully you're joining a good belt page that has good people running it.
And the maker I went through that Tony Thorpe used, by the way, his response time was great. His turnaround time was great. It's just the quality I was looking for just wasn't in my ballpark. Let me just throw a number out here. Say for $350, $400, I felt like I was getting like a $200 belt. That's just me. I mean, maybe it could have been my design, but his turnaround time was great. And actually, at the time, I had 2 other belts in the making, and he was the first one done, and he was the last person I ordered from. So
yeah, he's really quick at getting on that stuff, and his name's Unique Spirit. I don't mind sharing who that is. Unique Spirit. They've done me some really good stuff. I mean, there's been some errors too. Like I got a European title. I didn't really like the leather cut because it was cut it's supposed to be just cut more like, and the plate's weird. You know what I'm saying? The European title has that little bulge that sticks up a bit, and sometimes people cut, and it doesn't. It's not supposed to look like that. I also I had Muhammad or Brahma belts made me a light heavyweight title, and the leather cut was wrong. So I just sold that belt, ordered another one, and he fixed it. No problem. The other third maker I use is Muhammad Arham.
Now, Muhammad, he does casted belts, correct?
Yeah. These 2 behind me are both from him, actually. One this is Steve's regular zinc, and that's a cast belt. And I got another Canadian heavyweight title here, that's cast. And then I got an NWA tag belt under there that's cast as well from him. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you could see his room, I've seen his room when talking to him on the phone, and his room is massive, slap full of belts, slap full of old video games and wrestling figures.
Yeah, I have the whole
He
LCD line, along with the customs that I made too. I don't know, Andy. Do you ever see these? Like, I made a couple customs. Like,
I mean, I've only seen them in your videos when you do your belt videos. So
okay, yeah, like I did.
They're always behind you.
Race. I got a Sting. I've made the Road Warriors. I can show you the Road Warriors. These guys are easy to do.
So
These
when
are
you-
actually. Let's show these off right here.
like, when you made them, meaning like you took a blank and just painted them up.
So I painted these, added the epoxy for their hair and stuff like that, and I painted their faces. It's the Iron Sheik. It's the same figure. So all I did was put epoxy on and painted them. Epoxy and painted the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors. Because we would not have loved these when they had the LJNs as a kid, right? Well, arguably the greatest.
Brother, I've got I've got a couple of wrestlers you can do. And I message you all the time with who I think you could do, and one of them is a David Von Erich wrestling figure.
Yeah, I could do David. I could do Kevin. Right here is Kerry. He's not finished yet.
That's actually a really good carry right there, man.
Yeah, I got it fixed. It was actually, the body is Billy Jack Hayes. The neck's not the best where the epoxy where I sealed it, and I didn't fix the eyes yet. But like I did a British Bulldog I just painted him and gave him I gave him the European title because he came in a completely different look. Same with I made an in-ring honky tonk man out of put epoxy. I gave him the pompadour. It's a Dynamite Kid figure.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, he puts a lot of detail into these.
Yeah. I did an in-ring Harley race. This is on a Hacksaw Jim Duggan body. Because when we got Harley race, he had the crown and he had the jacket on, and it just didn't look good. Like Harley race deserved to look better, I thought. And I made a Sting. Look at this. This is all hand painted. Painted the Scorpion by hand. I put the winged eagle in white on him. Can you imagine if he was in the WWF in the 80s?
Oh man!
He could have been.
Oh, most definitely.
A couple more, and we can talk about something else. I got a Ricky Steamboat that I did. I put the U.S. title on him, even though it's not the U.S. title he had. I just thought that looked cool. I did a Mr. Perfect out of a Tito Santana. We never got Mr. Perfect as an LJN, so I even did the black B on the back like he had. I made there goes Sheik in the Legion of Doom. I made a Leapin' Lanny Poffo, the genius. All I did was add a beard and paint his hair black. It's one of the killer bees.
Oh man!
And then there's two Canadians for you. I did Dino Bravo. The hair's a bit too light. That's out of a Ted Arcidi body and a Don Morocco head. And then I turned King Kong Bundy into John Tenta, the Earthquake.
Yeah.
Yeah. All hand painted with the epoxy hair. Yeah.
See, man, you got attention to detail for those things.
Thank you. Probably part of my OCD or ADD or ADHD or whatever I do have.
Yeah, I can understand that. I guess the next question I want to ask you is this: do you think that in the belt hobby, do you think, like I said, we should have like people like representatives such as yourself that can take these new people that come into the hobby and say, okay, you want to here's a good maker, here's a good maker, and here's a good maker. You want to go with one of those instead of going with one of these fly by night makers.
Yeah, I think there already is a guy doing that, and he has a page, and he wants you to submit reviews, and they have like I tried to do a new belt day video in his group, and he picked it out, and I thought, well, if that's my review, I'm not going to type something up. I'm going to do a video to show you, right? So, but I can't remember the guy's name. Doesn't matter. To me, like a hobby, like you meet cool people along the way. You're gonna meet some dickheads along the way too, unfortunately. Like I've got lots of different hobbies, whether it's playing sports, whether it's wrestling itself, playing music, collecting video games. There's good and bad in every hobby, unfortunately. And that's just people, man. That's just.
I'd like to add too, a lot of it too, like when you, especially for newer people coming in, that haven't been around it long enough. A lot of it, you get these guys like Tony said, you get a couple assholes, but a lot of it to me is like they have a lot of this self-entitlement. Like,
yeah,
instead of helping somebody and saying, hey, somebody post a picture of like, hey, this guy's asking $200, and rather than just people just putting the laugh emoji and just saying, oh, why would you waste your money on that? You're dumb, this and that. And it's like, okay, for $200, if that's all you can afford, cool. But instead of just being like, why would you waste your time, or what kind of idiot would buy that? And rather just say, well, if you want better quality, spend a couple $100 more and go to this guy, or go to this maker. He's a trusted maker. Like I see that every day where people are thrashing everybody else because of what they post. Like, even I've gotten stuff, even like with this belt sitting on my shoulder, I posted that up and people were like, why would you want to do that? Why would you make a belt looking like that? Like, that's not TV accurate. And don't get me wrong, I like TV accurate stuff. But for me, like every time I turn a page on, it's always the big gold. It's always the Wind Eagle. It's always the Big Eagle. Like, it's always the same belts being shown and being made. So for me, I like doing custom stuff. I want to take either whether it's somebody's logos or something I can throw together as a collage and make my own belt. So
I've done that.
So this one here was actually made by Royal Belts. My wife's friend got us tickets to a Mick Foley meet and greet about a year ago.
Is Royal Belts Muhammad Luckman?
Yep, this one's made by Royal Belts.
Great, Muhammad Luckman's an awesome guy.
So I've heard mixed reviews with him before I bought this. A lot of them are good. Some people say they've gotten robbed.
He's been great to me.
One guy that used to be in our group here, I don't want to mention names or point fingers, but he said he had a hard time with him. But this is a 4mm CNC, 24 karat gold plated. Obviously, I liked Mick Foley growing up. I've always liked Cactus Jack. So, I didn't like his belt they did on WWE, so I wanted to make my own.
Yeah.
So, although I don't own the rights to any of the logos, obviously.
Yeah. What did he think when he saw that?
So he actually liked it so much he took a photo of it and put it on his phone when I met him.
He's one of the good guys in wrestling. Like, he's just a really good person.
And when we went to the signing, we were able to bring one thing from home, and we were supposed to get an 8x10 with an autograph. So I told him, I was like, instead of giving me the 8x10, I said, can you just sign all 3 characters and yourself on the belt? And he goes, yeah, I can do that. So he put Dude Love, Cactus Jack, and then on the other side, I can't remember which one was which. I can't really read them the way he wrote them.
Yeah.
And then Mick Foley, and then Mankind.
That's awesome.
So I had all 4 signatures.
That is really cool, man.
So, it was for his, I forgot what he calls it, but it's like his comedy tour that he does that talks about his career.
Yeah.
He travels all over and he talks about it. So, although it's not a real WWE belt, if you, for whatever reason, say you were to ever go resell it, somebody's like, well, the signatures might be worth something, but I'm not going to pay that much for something like this.
Dude, I love that belt. I think that's phenomenal. I think that's really cool.
And I've always liked that Wanted Dead or Alive gimmick, so that's what I wanted on the front. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, and see, this is
of course,
the thing, like, when you talk about people being negative or people being down, playing someone else's interest, it's actually more. That says more about the person doing it than the actual, than anything. They've got insecurities and aren't happy with life or themselves, and they're just ignorant. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. One of the groups.
I don't have a long cord on my headset.
Big Boys Belt says it doesn't matter if it's cardboard or plastic shields, right? And
I mean, but you get the guys too that'll sit there and say, "Well, yeah, you should go and get classic shields," but not everybody has $900 to $1,200 to spend on a belt. Like
$2,000.
I mean, most of the belts I have, I mean, I've gotten rid of some, but my most expensive belt in here is probably like $550 to $600.
Okay.
Well,
Wow.
And that's an overseas
Tony,
maker.
let me ask you a question.
Sure, buddy.
What's your thoughts about getting autographs on belts?
I think that's cool.
I mean, okay.
I don't know if I would do it. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
I kind of want to go to a couple of these conventions and see some of these people, but
let's say if Ronnie Garvin was at a convention near you, would you have him sign your Mid-Atlantic title? Because he was the last Mid-Atlantic champion.
I don't want to be a jerk. I probably wouldn't go out of my way. Like it really would no, I'm just funny like that. Even like my favorite musicians or favorite actor, I've never really been an autograph seeker. I have a couple autographs, but that was when I was younger. And as I've gotten older, like I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I would do it. If I met Bret Hart, if Bret Hart was doing an autograph thing, it would be pretty hard for me not to. I mean, I have a jersey. I bought secondhand a jersey with a certificate of authenticity that's signed by Bret Hart, Calgary Hitman jersey. But Bret and Hulk Hogan are two of my favorites.
Yeah.
I probably would want their autographs. Those are probably the only two guys. Maybe Ric Flair. Like I don't think I would search out anyone's autographs. Like I don't have any baseball memorabilia signed. I don't have any hockey memorabilia, other than the guys that I met when I did the Pro Star Hockey Tours.
Yeah.
It's basically a preference thing, really.
Yeah.
I mean, some guys like it.
Fair, right? Yeah.
Some say that it devalues belts. My only biggest gripe is like I think it's cool if you want to get it signed. I worry about signing something and it smudging off, but like the biggest gripe I think a lot of people hate with the belts, anyways, is somebody getting a belt signed by a wrestler that never held that particular belt.
Yeah, that would be like getting a jersey signed by a guy who never played on that team.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you're familiar with this belt because you gave me this belt and I had it autographed.
Yeah.
Well, the plan is this belt is going into a shadow box.
That'll be cool.
And I'm going to have the pictures of him signing the belt in the shadow box along with his autograph picture. I also plan on getting Nikita Koloff to sign this belt as well because he did hold it only for one day, but he did hold it.
Oh, nice. I think that was I think Muhammad or Ronald belts maybe that one.
I think you said it was Unique Spirit that made it.
Okay, I know you need to take the one I have here. Maybe you did make that one too. I don't know. So
here's another one I want to show you guys that's from Luckman as well. This is something new that he's doing with his leather. I mean,
wow.
It's another custom job I had done. I wanted to do a Brothers of Destruction belt because again I don't like the WWE's version. It didn't come out bad. I really wish I should have had him curve the side plates. I get sticklers all the time for that, like especially Leonidas. He hates it when you get flat side plates.
I'm depends if it has a little curve or not.
But this is a new style leather he's doing. It's called printed leather.
I really like that.
But I wanted it like kind of like a yin yang, half Undertaker, half Kane.
Yeah.
I think it would look a lot better if I could have a real leather worker actually tool all of this.
Yeah.
It would make it push, pop that much better. And then obviously the design on the front was something he came up with, like the etching around the innards of the plates. It's not your typical like nugget texturing.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
So it's 4mm zinc, CNC.
That's awesome.
plate, I think he actually made the center plate a tad bit taller just because of the photo I went with. Originally, like the way it came up on the drawing, it was really distorted. It still kind of is, but
yeah,
it is what it is, I guess.
that is really cool though. I think that turned out really well.
But
both of those are really nice that you.
That's a Lackman belt as well. I've had pretty good luck with him. The only one I didn't have good luck with is I brought a 2mm brass, and I had one of those toy to life belts made, so it was made to look like the old Block logo Figures Inc. foam.
Yeah.
Intercontinental belt, and then the only reason it didn't come out right is because the leather he used, it looks more pink than it does purple.
I have the foam belts that we would have had back in the 1980s when we were kids from wrestling. I got the tag titles, the Intercontinental, and the World title.
I do have.
Well, I was going to ask you, with you having 3 kids, how do you keep them from keeping their hands off of your belts?
They're girls and they're not interested. Like
that's.
I might get in trouble for that. I know girls like wrestling too, but they just don't care. I think like my nephews love wrestling, and I think it's just like little boys are like monkeys. They just like to jump around and play and roughhouse. Where the girls, like my girls, had zero interest in that sort of stuff. I did have a couple, so they have toy belts. I do have toy belts for them. I have a couple pictures. Actually, picture on my phone is my girls. We're all holding different belts. So the kids ones, right? So, but they think I'm a dork. Like they do. They don't think I'm cool at all. So they love me. They just don't think I'm cool. They think it's embarrassing. So.
Well, for me, I grew up in the Attitude Era too, and unfortunately, I didn't get to see a lot of the WCW stuff because I was still really young. I was born in '92, so I was at the tail end of it when I started realizing what was really going on. But
I was in grade 10 then.
The best thing for me was, especially being in school, and you're one of those kids that people always give you a hard time. They pick on you. All I could think about is, I'm watching this kid like messing with me or calling me names or something like that, and all that's running through my mind: can I put him through a table? Can I stun him?
Chair around?
Can I get him a chair shot with a friggin' lunch tray? That's all I could think of.
Yeah, it's interesting.
A good clothesline.
When I was growing up, I've said this to my friends and stuff. Like my astrological sign's a Gemini, and I think I have that because. Back in the 80s, you were a jock, or you were like a metalhead, or into cars, or you were a nerd, and nerd culture's taken over now, right? Because a lot of the shit that was really popular in the 80s that the nerds liked is huge now. Video game, wrestling, you can comic book collecting, that stuff. The conventions are huge, right? So I remember in the 80s being bullied and picked on. But my hockey player buddies would come around looking for me, and then they would pick on some of my friends that were into video games, role playing games, which I love to do too. And I was and then I was a total loner because my friends were we don't want to hang out with you because your other friends kick our ass all the time. I was fuck. It was brutal. I was at school and I was yeah, it was just. But I think everyone goes through. There's always some jerk in school who picks on somebody. It's just inevitable. But that person's usually coming from a shitty home and hurting themselves. So. Sadly.
Yeah. Hey, Tony, I guess I wanted to ask you, buddy, who are some trusted belt makers out there that you would recommend?
There's a lot. I said the 3. I mean, Mohammed Luckman's good as well. Max Miguel's good. Ali Nasser's good. There's Jagu Jan's really good. There's a lot. Nawaz. It's. I think it's all personal preference.
And it really. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all good, buddy. Some makers make better versions of belts than others.
It also depends on what you're looking for. I was going to say too, because for instance, Jagu Jan, he specializes in a lot of like what you have, Tony, like the territories, like NWA, where Luckman, he can do that stuff, but he does a lot of custom stuff.
Yeah, Max Bell's going more custom too.
Mm-hmm.
He's made some really awesome tribute belts.
Mm-hmm.
I liked what I like about belts to me is it's like it's a prop for a story, right? Now that I'm older, but it's also like a piece of jewelry. It's a trophy, right? So the guy that was like in the sports, the competitive guy, I want those trophies. I want the belts because it means something. I get bugged a lot because I'm a belt mark, and like all the guys that I train with, the guys that are in the business locally here, they know that I'm a huge belt mark, and I think like it was as a kid, like I wanted to see the champion. I wanted Hogan to see who he was fighting. I wanted to see who the Intercontinental Champion was fighting and the tag champs. The other matches, they were all right, but it was always a championship match. If the belt is going to change hands, those meant more to me, and I was lost, like the demographic that was like the minority of people who were obsessed with it. Just some people would love the whole entire card of wrestling. Some guys, like Piper, didn't need a belt. Jake the Snake didn't need a belt. They say. I still love those guys, but I was more interested in the matches where the belts could possibly change hands.
And especially like I always like seeing that, like how you guys try to get these guys. I believe it's either usually the undisputed or the big gold. It's like everybody wants to know how to get the tone of the gold that particular color, and most people don't realize it's actually how they filmed it and took pictures of it when it was being worn. It has that, like the undisputed, like when Eddie Guerrero had it looked like a flat gold and a bright gold mixed in with each other, and it was just how the lighting was hitting all the etching on the plates.
Those two belts, it's funny you said that. Those are the two belts that I got from the shop that I mentioned earlier that my mom bought me. The Undisputed was the first one, and that was because I was and the reason I went with that belt, it looked beautiful. It is beautiful. It was the last belt that Hogan held in the WWE. Hogan is like probably the reason. Well, he's the reason I watch wrestling. Right, Bret Hart's my favorite wrestler because I think he's the best wrestler. But if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, Mr. Wonderful, Big John Studd, I might not be here talking about this sort of stuff.
And guys were a lot easier to see back then. Like I know my dad used to tell me about it. They used to go down to the Armory where we live. It used to be like $5-10 to get in. This was when Andre the Giant was wrestling. So afterwards, you could literally find him in the bar across the street.
Yeah,
sitting on a bar stool having wine. Like it wasn't just get on my jet flight, and see you later.
Well, that's something that I've seen here, and so where I live in Nova Scotia, there's a real cool history here in Atlantic wrestling. They had Grand Prix wrestling here, and the WWF would always come through here, and even guys from the NWA territories would come through here, and they would do their shows here, and you'd see them downtown or whatever. It was kind of cool, and the local wrestling scene here, like. When I first moved to Nova Scotia, I see these posters up for wrestling shows. And my brother-in-law would go, and there'd be like 15 to 70 people at shows, maybe. 70 people was a good draw. Now indie shows here are getting 300 to 600 people all over the province. They're drawing I think up in Cape Breton, there's a territory, like a promotion there. They had like almost 1,000 people in their hockey arena for their anniversary show. And they had the British Bulldog's son, Davey Boy Smith Jr. was here. The Master Rock, Chris Masters was here. They brought in some guys that have been around, right? People are loving wrestling. It's a cool art form. It's a cool sport.
Well, now wasn't Dino Bravo around your area?
Yeah, he's from Quebec. So in Canada, there's 10 provinces, 3 territories. It was 2 when I was a kid. They changed it to 3. And one of the provinces, the province of Quebec, is entirely French. It's the only one that is French. New Brunswick is the only actual official bilingual province where they speak both French and English, 50-50. For the rest of Canada is English first, French second.
Okay, well, have you seen I think it's the Great North Wrestling Alliance with Hannibal, the wrestler Hannibal?
I've seen it. Yeah, I follow him. Hannibal. He's awesome. I really like his stuff. I know he's got some stick for when he stabbed people with a fork or what have you. I don't know. I don't know if it was a work or not, but my interactions, I really enjoyed his stuff, watching his stuff, seeing who's interviewing. I enjoyed watching some of his work too. So he's a legitimate, he's a legit wrestler. I believe he, like a provincial champion, almost like an all-state wrestler, right? So he's a legit, he could shoot on your feet, mess around.
See, I've always been drawn to call me grungy, but I like the violence type of things with wrestling. Like I like seeing weapons, not just like WWE where it's like, oh, let's take a table out or one folding chair. Like a good example of this would be, you probably heard of it, Tony, is Combat Zone Wrestling.
Yeah.
They do a lot of stuff like that, and I get people get hurt, and it is really bloody and grungy. But I like the fact that they can incorporate a high flyer, but also how they can take weapons and do things in ways that you would never think to use it, like how they tape light bulbs together, or they make a table from light bulbs, or wrap a sheet of glass over a net of barbed wire. You know what I mean? Like it's just stuff that you would never think anybody would do.
I personally wouldn't put my body in that situation. Me and my coach had talked about this too, so I that's not for me. It's not my type. Mm-hmm. I'm old school. I like the old golden era wrestling where it was the face versus the heel. You hated the heel because he just pissed you off, right? But no, I understand. So locally we had a match. We had a guy, Channing Decker, come in from Ontario, and he had a hardcore match, and there was it was phenomenal. The pop he got, the pop. I'm doing a show here. Sorry, my kids. It was a great match, and they pulled it off really, really well. Like it was just really well done. But I just couldn't. The thumbtacks, the glass, the barbed wire. I don't think I could survive. I'd faint. I don't think I'm tough enough.
I mean, it's not for everybody, and like I said, stuff like that is pretty grungy. I mean, if you look back at some of the older videos, like they used to do a lot of stuff with nails sticking out of like sheets of 2x4s and stuff that you think that like somebody would literally could easily die if they didn't know what they were doing. But I just like it from the creativity. I mean, I'm not all for like the type of person like sitting there with a cheese grater at your forehead or what do you call them? The barbecue skews that they stick in each other's forehead. Like to that extent, no, but like seeing somebody properly go through a sheet of glass, I mean, I can see that, or taking light tubes and taping them together over a table, is one thing. And I don't know how they do that nowadays, because I know old tables or light tubes used to be mercury, so I don't know if they fill them with something now or alter them to get that powder.
Man. I have no idea. But they did that at the match. There was a match where they had a street fight, and he took three of them, they taped them together and smacked them like it was a kendo stick. Mm-hmm. I just think it depends how much money those people are getting paid to do it.
I don't think it's much though.
No, I've played sports my whole life as well as being a nerd my whole life. And wrestling has been the toughest, most physical thing I've ever done. The amount of cardio you do, it blows hockey, soccer, baseball out of the water. It's a different explosive type of cardio. And the bumps, you take enough bumps in a wrestling ring, I don't think you need that. Personally, me, I don't need to add glass and thumbtacks. I'd faint. Honestly, I'd faint.
I mean, there was one match I remember. They wrapped the ring. I mean, we've seen this in ECW, but they wrapped the ring ropes in barbed wire.
Yeah.
They put light tubes in between the barbed wire.
Yeah.
And then at one point, I know we're not showing pictures, but at one point they had weed whackers, and they literally turned them on, hit each other with the ends of the weed whackers, and they had basically mop buckets of salt in each corner. So after they were already hitting each other and scraped up and everything, they would literally dump salt on each other. And one of the guys that I used to follow is Sick Nick Mondo. He used to be really big in CZW, and you can see a lot of his matches where he did things like that. And it's gruesome. I mean, but I just like seeing a weapon be incorporated with a high flyer. I like seeing somebody do a 20-foot dive.
I think what's awesome about wrestling is that there's a market for everybody, because there's people that. There's a market for all different types, like what you're saying. And, that's I think what makes wrestling so awesome. Because it is.
I mean, right now, also, like Ricochet is a big one. He's awesome high flyer, and they're not using him to his full extent. I mean, look at that last match with him and Logan Paul where they collided at, was it WrestleMania? They double speared each other in midair off the ring ropes.
Out of every celebrity they've ever brought in to wrestle, Logan Paul has to be the best wrestler they've brought in. Like, well, he's an athlete. I don't care if people hate on him for whatever, because he's successful and good looking. So they hate on him. He's a good athlete. Like, he's believable in the ring. I'm really impressed.
Well, now Lawrence Taylor against Bam Bam Bigelow did a really good job. He did a really good job in that WrestleMania. I think it was WrestleMania 10.
Yeah, it was okay. I remember watching that. But he's not like Logan Paul to me. Like, he's just much more athletic, and he's just
Logan. I don't care for Logan Paul, but Logan Paul does have the athletic ability, and I think he's in it 100%.
Yeah.
So I'll give him his props.
Yeah. I'm impressed because, like, I mean, he's got the money to get the best training, and like, you're getting trained by Shawn Michaels, and like, he's like, I know there's a lot of people that hate them, and I get it with Jake Paul because he's so mouthy, but Logan Paul, like, I never watched any of their YouTube stuff. I heard about them. My kids talked about them. I saw Jake Paul fight, and I was impressed that a YouTuber was like that good. Like, he's not a bad boxer. And give him someone. I'd like to see him fight a true boxer. These MMA guys he's fighting are real good fighters, but I think, anyways, that's for a different debate. But no, Logan Paul, to me, like, seeing him in the ring, I've been thoroughly impressed. Like, almost I'd say blown away that he's that good.
Yeah, he is good. Yeah, he's definitely good, man. But
like, do you remember when Tess, like, God rest his soul, do you remember when Tess started wrestling? And he probably would have been.
Oh, yeah.
I saw it towards the end of the 90s, yeah.
Yeah, do you remember how green Tess was when he started? I mean, he was okay. Logan Paul is already better than what he was then. Tess did get better. But, like, to see some of these guys that, I don't know, everyone has a different path to get there. And not everyone makes it. It's the same with everything in life. There's different tiers. But I feel like how Logan Paul's done it.
I just miss the old stuff, like you said. Like, you guys grew up in the 80s and things like that. Like, I miss that grungy attitude era where it was like, it made you basically block out all of reality. I mean, I was a kid anyways, but like, that feeling that you're on top of the world, like, I could stun somebody and I could choke slam somebody. It's just the energy. And if you watch like the stuff today and you watch the way the arena filled with the smoke after the pyros, like the whole lighting, I get the cameras have evolved since then, but just the atmosphere was so much different. All the signs people used to bring, all the energy people bring, and people still bring it, but it just doesn't seem as fun. It feels like everybody's in a giant, like, auditorium meeting, and it's just like,
it's very corporate now, where it wasn't back then, right? So they have shareholders they have to answer to, and if their stocks get damaged in any way, they lose thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, so they can't do what they did back then.
And also, TV companies are more strict of what you can do on TV nowadays, too.
Yeah, for sure they are. And, I mean, you lived through those eras. It was wild. Like, going from the 80s with the superheroes and it was like a circus, right? Like, you were larger than life. Everyone was jacked, like, it was insane. Like, seeing a guy like the Warlord come out, he was just a monster. I think they still wrestle, don't they? Barbarian Warlord, they make appearances. They may have not anymore.
They do on the Independence.
Yeah. They were monsters. And then you go to the new era, to the Attitude Era. And the Attitude Era, like, I remember being in my 20s, and like we all had girlfriends, me and my roommates, and it was like Monday nights. We were like, it was like Tuesday was wing night, but Monday night was Raw. Thursday night was SmackDown back then, and like, it was hilarious. And the girlfriends would watch with us too. Like, they would hang out. We'd be drinking beers, watching Stone Cold give his boss a middle finger.
Even the apparel was better back then. Like, I mean, for crying out loud, like nowadays you have your wrestling shirts, but like in the '90s, like you had Austin, where like my favorite shirt he had, which was towards the end of when he retired, it said "F Fear" on the front and "Drink Beer" on the back. Yeah. And it had the U blocked out by a skull. But like even at one point, he had one that said it was "F Fear," but it was an F in two different directions.
Yeah.
And it had it was a Confederate flag on the back, and that was acceptable. And then when things started more evolving and people were getting more, you know, calling out all these different things, like you can't do this, and this is, you know, this is bothering people and whatever, they started totally changing their marketing. I mean, The Rock had ass on almost every T-shirt he owned.
Yeah.
You know, it was like Rudy Poo Candy ass, know your role. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, they didn't censor any of it. Even DX had "Suck It" right across the back, and there was 15-year-olds walking around school with it. You know.
I know, and I missed that because I was out of school. But I could just like imagine like the younger guys that were in high school giving the crop, "Suck it," you know, like.
You know.
Yeah. It was like we saw that at hockey. I remember like I was playing men's beer league hockey, and like you'd see a guy get a penalty, be like, "Suck it." It was hilarious.
You know. But it's just the Tony, way the attitude was back then. It was great.
What's that, Jim?
Well, Tony, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, what's the best place that they can reach you, man?
Champions Belt Club. That's the group we run.
Yeah. And that's on Facebook. Shameless plug.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
And so, you know, yeah, there you go. But Tony, we won't keep you because I know you got 3 girls, and I know they want daddy time. So,
they come to the door and opened it and showed me signs 3 times, asking me questions. So, hope I didn't say
Tony,
anything. Upset somebody.
You know, brother, I appreciate you coming on. It's like an old school time for you and me together, and I appreciate it. You know, check out Championship Belt Club on Facebook. You know, with their group, they can help you out if you're looking for a belt. They can guide you along the way and help you. You know, bring your wallet though. Bring your wallet.
Yeah, I don't make any money off it. Honestly, like, just, it's good, man. It's good. I'm a busy dude with work, so it's like I don't want my inbox blowing up with people.
But, you know, if you need some help, you can reach out to Tony, or you can reach out to Jason Davis. They both are the admins of Championship Belt Club, and they'll be glad to help you out in any way they possibly can. All you got to do is just join and just ask them questions, and they'll help you when they can. Tony, much appreciated for this, brother. Thank you so much. I'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Andy, do you got anything?
Yep, I just want to say, Tony, thanks again for taking a little time out of your day with us. Like I said, we've got some more shows coming. If anybody has any ideas or wants something they want to see, feel free to message us, reach out to one of us, leave a comment in the video. You know, if there's something particular you want us to talk about, we're always open to new ideas. Basically, we want you to tell us what you want us to see. So, again, I appreciate Tony for coming on and, you know, letting us ramble on for an hour or so.
Yeah, it's fun, man. I love it. Shit with somebody, you know?
And Jim, I see you as usual, so, you know, but that's a different story. So, again, guys, I guess it's going to wrap it up for today, and I appreciate everybody coming out. Like, share, and subscribe.